All right, Kyle Bonn writes about soccer for the Sporting News, and he's covering the Olympics. Morency's a fan. It's good to have you on Coast to Coast, Kyle. I watched the U.S. Under-23 team with that 3-0 win over Guinea. New Guinea, I'm assessing. I like their uniforms, to be honest with you. I thought they were pretty fresh. They didn't look good in the game, but their unis, they had a nice drip going.
Yeah, the African teams always come to play when it comes to the kits. That's always big for them. But yeah, the U.S. men looked fantastic, and really, since losing big to France in the opening game, in a game when they looked okay through the first 60 minutes and kind of fell apart, they have been on fire. And this is only the second time ever that the U.S. men have qualified for the knockout stage of the Olympics, because they have just not had a great history at the Olympics. The men haven't. And this is a real big moment for them. They've never medaled since the first ever Olympic men's tournament when there were only 3 teams. And so this is a big opportunity.
So it's an under-23 outfit, and they where do most of them come from? Like, I don't know a lot about these young kids and where they get them and where they've been playing. And, I'm used to watching, we just watched the Euros and the Copa and the Premier League and the Champions League, and these are the greatest players in the world. But these are kids.
Yeah, so they're coming from the same places, just maybe lesser known clubs. So a lot of these players still play either in MLS or in Europe. They just aren't as well-known players because they're younger. And so that's what makes it a little tougher for the United States in a setting like this. But because of the Copa America, because of the Euros, which are much more prestigious competitions where the senior national players play on the men's side, the Olympics sort of has to know its place. And so that's why it's a youth tournament, is because these senior players have already just played in a major international tournament in their very small off season. Playing in the Olympics as well is just not realistic. So that's why they bring in a lot of these kids. But they come from MLS and they come from European clubs still.
So the team that lost in the Copa and didn't make it to the knockout stage, I know they're allegedly better. That would be our Olympic team in terms of 28, right? These are the guys that are going to be playing in Los Angeles. But my point is, the team that lost in the Copa, these guys, they look like they play better than that outfit.
Yeah, potentially. You could argue that. The team that's playing right now in the Olympics is playing against other U23 competitions. So you have to remember that as well. Where in a youth tournament, because the players aren't quite developed yet, talent doesn't really carry you as far. So there's lots of upsets. You saw Spain today lost to Egypt. Spain's one of the favorites to win the tournament. So there's a lot of upsets in Olympic men's soccer just because the gap in talent from the best teams to the smallest teams is a lot smaller.
So we saw Egypt win that game 2-1. We saw Uzbekistan tied somebody. What is that team that they played? Do you know that game today?
Dominican Republic.
That was the Dominican Republic they played. And then Argentina beat Ukraine 2-0. Morocco 3-0 over Iraq. And France beat New Zealand 3-0. And so we had lost to that French team. Are they like the favorites in this thing?
Yeah, you have to consider them the favorites right now. They just smoked the rest of the group all the way through. They're the hosts. Before the tournament, there were 3 big favorites from a betting perspective. You basically had a top tier of France, Spain, and Argentina. There's a huge gap in the futures before the tournament, and then you have the rest of the field. The U.S., thanks to the insane controversy that happened way early in the tournament between Morocco and Argentina, are actually drawing Morocco in the first knockout game instead of Argentina, because those 2 teams finished exactly level in their standings. So you take the head-to-head, and Morocco won the head-to-head very controversially. So Morocco finished first in their group. The U.S. finished second. Those 2 teams will play in the quarterfinals. And so Morocco while not Argentina, obviously, still a very formidable opponent because, as I mentioned, there was that gap between the top 3 teams and the rest of the field. Well, Morocco was at the top of that rest of the field. So you've got a very difficult opponent here for the U.S. in the quarterfinals coming up. If they were able to win that game in advance, it would only be the second time ever the U.S. has made the semifinals of an Olympic tournament in the men's side, and they've never medaled. So this would be a big opportunity for them.
So Morocco got lucky and got that controversial win. Where did it leave Argentina? They won today. Are they still in the knockout with their points?
Yep, they made it through as the second place finisher in their group. So Argentina will play in the quarterfinals, and they will take on France. That's a big game. You've got two of the top 3 favorites that will match up in the quarterfinals. One of them will be going home a lot earlier than expected.
So tomorrow the women play in the Olympics, and we were talking before you came on about Canada, that they're proving all the penalties that they got for the drones. All the Olympic officials are proving them wrong. They're playing great, and I don't know when the U.S. women play again. You probably do. They look fantastic. That front line with Swanson Smith and Rodman. I couldn't believe how amazing they looked against Germany. Are both of those 2 teams headed on a collision course?
They could be. That would certainly be appointment viewing. The women's team is a little harder to figure out, or the women's side of the competition is a little tougher to figure out where teams will end up in the knockout bracket because you have third place qualifiers that are sort of muddling up things. But the U.S. women are through already. We don't know where, but they are already through. They play tomorrow, I believe, at 1:00. It might be 3, so I'll have to double check that just to make sure I've got the right information. But I know that the U.S. women will play tomorrow afternoon. It is at 1:00. So they'll play Australia at 1. They're already through. The question is just where are they going to finish in the group? But Canada, I mean, what a story. 6-point deduction, which is 2/3 of your maximum possible points you can get in the group stage, already wiped out. So they have to win 3 of 3 to even have a chance at qualifying. And the way things have shaken out, they've already won their first 2 games. If they beat Colombia tomorrow, they are through. It would be an incredible story for them to just sort of put out the noise. Vanessa Gillet, who scored the incredible late winner against France in their second game, basically said after the game, she's like, we haven't slept in 3 days. We've barely eaten. We've all been crying. It's just, we're all running on pure emotion at this point, which is really an unbelievable story.
Well, Colombia, in terms of the men, they were great in the Copa. Are the Colombian women as good as the men's side? And what are they respectfully in store for against this team tomorrow? How good are they? And I got 45 seconds respectfully.
Yeah. Canada should be favored in that game, but Colombia are decent. They've had a good history as far as South American women's teams are concerned. South American women football is pretty much dominated by Brazil, but you've got Argentina and Colombia as sort of like a close second tier. So it's a decent matchup for them. It's not a given by any means, but Canada should be favored in that game.